Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the update over at the Zaporizhzhia Line. And it's basically the Russian winter offensive at Zaporizhzhia, the super duper uber Zaporizhzhia offensive. And just to understand the implications, we have to understand the importance of the Zaporizhzhia Line. So the Ukrainians actually have four major settlements around here: Kayamsky, Orikhiv, Huyaipole, and Velika Novosilka. Each of them actually have a road leading up, or a road or two leading up to this major supply line over it towards the Eastern Front, which is here. So the Eastern Front is here, and these roads helps to link to all the way to Pokrov, which they can actually they can actually spread the the food and the ammunition and everything. If they lose this line, then the only supply route is not only coming from Dnipro, which is actually through Palorad, and moving to the Eastern Front. And this line is very dependent on these four settlements. Kayamsky, Orikhiv, Huyaipole, and Velika Novosilka. And which is why this is the Zaporizhzhia line, this one line, you see. And now the Russians are now pushing in this area here. In two of these settlements, the Russians are making a major push. And most likely this push is going to, let me draw nicer. So it's going to move up and capture and cut off these lines. And with the eventuality of cutting this supply line here in the north, and effectively cutting off Zaporizhzhia as a supply route or hub towards the Eastern Front. So this is the main implication on a strategic sense. And moving on to the more local the regional kind of strategic view. This is how it looks like at this moment. The Russians are pushing, in multiple locations, and they have captured multiple locations as well. So previously we have not mapped Lobkove as under Ukrainian control. We always mapped it as Russian control. But the Russians have announced the capture of Lobkove, and the reason is because this area here is actually a no man's land. Previously, so which is why the Russians would actually announce a capture of this position as they push towards the settlement. Let me see, what is this settlement called? Stepove. So they are now fighting. The fighting is now reportedly as Stepove, and they have also, there's rumors of the capture of Shcherbaky. So there's a move of Shcherbaky, and there is also fighting reported at Mali Shcherbaky. So the Mali Shcherbaky is here. This is Shcherbaky. And furthermore, there is also fighting reported at Novoandriivka as they push northward, and they have reportedly captured Novoandriivka. And this push is all moving towards Orikhiv. Fighting was previously reported at Novodanylivka, and after that there's mention of the capture of Novodanylivka later in the day. And there's also fighting reported at Tokmachka. Similarly, towards the end of the day, there's reports saying that they have captured Tokmachka. There's also fighting reported near Novopokrovka as well as at Bilohirya. But the Ukrainian defense over here at Novopokrovka and Bilohirya seems to hold the line much better. The defenders here are doing a much better job. However, the forces in the other areas here had not done so well. They have been caught by surprise, and the intensity and the rapidness of the Russian push have forced the Ukrainians actually to fall back currently. And according to pro-Russian sources, the Russians are now at the moment sweeping the areas. They are clearing the places that they have captured, and the Ukrainians have fall back to a different line of defense at this moment. Tentatively, there is also this very important town, strategic town of Kayamsky. So Kayamsky is actually currently cut in half because there's a river over here, and at this river there's a bridge, and that's the bridge where all the prisoner exchange is currently, you know, have been held for all this time. So Kayamsky currently is in danger, because if the Russians manage to, you know, successfully continue to push, they will be able to swing to the rear of Kayamsky and capture Stepove, and the Ukrainian forces here will be encircled. And similarly, they will continue. The Russian forces is likely to continue to capture all these settlements around here and go for Shcherbaky. And the capture of Shcherbaky will actually cut off the resupply route coming from Zaporizhzhia City, which is actually going through Shcherbaky over to Kharkiv. The only other supply route is actually from Kharkiv moving northward all the way to another place altogether. So, but the major one is actually from Zaporizhzhia, because that's where the west, all the supplies coming from the western side of the country will come to. So the Ukrainian forces will likely to put on a stronger fight over at Kharkiv, because this is already the major linchpin of the Zaporizhzhia line. Similarly for Kayamsky, but no, the need to protect the rear is very important. If they are unable to protect the rear, then the forces will be encircled, and that will become a bigger disaster. And should Kharkiv fall, then or even at the Tokmachka region, if the Russian forces continue to push, will continue to push towards the rear, they can also encircle the forces at the fighting at Bilohirya, which is around here. So the defense have to hold across the entire line. They have to hold across the entire line, or the collapse might be quite bad, and there is no very clear sense of where the next line should be. If we follow the major roads, we can imagine that the Ukrainians will have the next line of defense along the road, with Omelnik as the core to this area here, and this is probably the next line of defense over on this side. Over at this area here is a bit different. There is some high ground around here, so they might want to try to hold the high ground to hold back the Russian forces. It's uncertain if the Ukrainians will be able to do it, because the entire reason why the Russians are able to push this direction and even have some kind of success is because the Ukrainians seems to have over redeployed the forces from the Zaporizhzhia line over to the Bakhmut front, and the Ukrainian forces also purposely, the Russian forces also purposely took fight over at this region here, the furthest point on the Zaporizhzhia line away from the eastern front, so that redeployment of any Ukrainian forces redeployment of any forces back to Zaporizhzhia will be much harder, because the distance is much further. So this is actually some kind of a diversionary attack, or it could be just a very good strategic chess move to stretch the Ukrainian forces. So anyway, this is the update coming from the Zaporizhzhia line, the Russian Zaporizhzhia winter offensive, or the super duper uber Zaporizhzhia offensive. And hope you will press the like button, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and I'll see you in the next update.